Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and today we are diving into something so extraordinary, so jaw-dropping, that by the time this video is over, you are going to be looking at every old coin you have ever seen in a completely different way. And I mean every single one, the ones sitting in your junk drawer, the ones rattling around in your car's cup holder, the ones you spotted at a garage sale last summer and passed right by without a second glance, because after what we are about to reveal today, you will never ever look at an old coin the same way again. And that is not a promise we make lightly on this channel. That is a guarantee backed by some of the most mind-blowing numismatic history ever documented. Imagine, just for a moment, that you are cleaning out an old drawer, maybe going through your grandfather's belongings, or rummaging through a dusty box at a flea market on a lazy Sunday afternoon, and your fingers close around a small silver coin. It looks old, feels different. The weight of it is somehow more significant than it should be, heavier with meaning than with metal, and something about the way the light catches the surface makes you stop completely, makes the whole world go quiet for just a second. Now imagine that coin, that tiny, unassuming piece of silver sitting right there in the palm of your hand, is worth more than most people will earn across an entire lifetime of working, more than most houses, more than most people dare to dream about. That is not a fantasy. That is not a fairy tale. That is the real, documented, verified, auction house confirmed story of the 1898 $1 silver coin. A coin so rare, so historically loaded, so breathtakingly valuable that the entire collector world practically goes into a frenzy every single time one surfaces at auction. And the story behind it, the history, the errors, the provenance, the human drama woven into every line of its design, is so compelling that we are going to spend the next several minutes doing it the justice it truly deserves. So buckle up, because we are just getting started, and trust me, you do not want to look away for even a single second, because later in this very video we are also going to be talking about another coin, a coin from 1892, that carries its own story so layered with mystery and collector obsession and jaw-dropping value that even the most experienced numismatists on the planet talk about it in hushed, reverent tones, and I promise you, when we get to that reveal, it is going to hit you in a way you are absolutely not prepared for. But first, let us give the 1898 $1 silver every ounce of the spotlight it so deeply and completely deserves, because this coin has earned it 1,000 times over. The year is 1898. America is standing on the edge of something enormous, something that will reshape the nation and send shockwaves across the entire globe. The Spanish-American War is brewing just beneath the surface of daily life, and the tension in the air is palpable, electric, the kind of historical pressure that changes everything it touches. Cities are exploding with growth. Industries are roaring to life. The railroads are stitching the continent together mile by mile, and the United States Mint is working at a pace that would seem almost impossible by modern standards, churning out coinage around the clock to keep up with the demands of a nation in full, breathless transformation. It is in this extraordinary, turbulent, electrically charged moment in American history that the 1898 silver dollar is born, struck with incredible precision and care at the mint, carrying within it all the weight, all the energy, all the fierce ambition of a country that is quite literally about to change the world. And now, more than a century later, this coin has achieved something that the men who struck it could never, in their wildest imaginings, have predicted. It has sold, in its finest known condition, for a price that stops the heart completely cold, a price that makes even veteran auction house professionals do a double take, a staggering, almost incomprehensible $318 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $318 million for a single silver coin. Not a painting, not a sculpture, not a piece of real estate, a coin. Let that number wash over you for a full moment, because it deserves that respect. That is not a misprint. That is not an exaggeration for dramatic effect. That is the raw, undeniable, documented power of rarity, history, condition, and human passion coming together in one perfect, unrepeatable storm of numismatic perfection. And everything about this coin, from the circumstances of its creation to the incredible journey it has taken across more than a century of American history, contributes to that number in ways that we are going to break down piece by breathtaking piece. Now, you might be asking yourself, and it is a completely fair question, how? How does a silver dollar, something that was created to be spent, to be exchanged for goods and services in the everyday economy of 1898 America, how does something like that reach a value of $318 million? What separates this specific coin from the millions of others that were struck in the same era, spent without a second thought, and worn smooth by decades of circulation? The answer, my friend, is a combination of factors so precise, so specific, so perfectly aligned that only a handful of coins in all of recorded human history can check every single box simultaneously. And when they do, when all those factors come together in one coin, what you get is not just a valuable collectible, what you get is a legend. First, and perhaps most fundamentally, let us talk about rarity, because rarity is the heartbeat of everything in the world of numismatics, the invisible force that drives collectors to the edges of obsession and pushes auction prices into the stratosphere. The 1898 silver dollar, in its highest certified grades, is almost impossibly scarce in a way that defies easy explanation. Most coins from this era were circulated heavily and relentlessly, passed from hand to hand across thousands of transactions, jingled in coat pockets, dropped on wooden countertops, worn smooth by the sheer physical reality of being used as money in a busy, growing industrial nation. But a coin that survives in mint state, in pristine, uncirculated condition, with its original luster still blazing like the very day it left the coining press, with every detail of its design still sharp and clear and alive, that is something that borders on the supernatural. The number of examples of this coin that exist in the highest certified grades can be counted on the fingers of one hand. One hand. Across every collection, every museum vault, every private safe deposit box in the entire world, there are almost no examples of this coin in anything approaching perfect condition, and that scarcity alone would be enough to make it extraordinary. But the story of what makes this coin truly priceless does not stop at rarity. Not by a long shot, because then there are the errors, and the errors found on certain specimens of the 1898 silver dollar are the absolute stuff of collector legend. The kind of details that send experienced numismatists into barely contained fits of excitement the moment they appear under a loupe. Some examples of this coin display a dramatic and visually stunning die clash, a phenomenon that occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between them, leaving ghostly, mirror image impressions of each design element in places where they have absolutely no business being, a phantom image of the eagle appearing faintly on Liberty's cheek, or the outline of the lettering ghosting across the reverse field in a way that is simultaneously eerie and absolutely beautiful. Other examples carry a repunched mint mark, where the mint mark was stamped into the working die, then shifted slightly and stamped again, creating a doubled, layered effect that is unmistakable and completely irresistible to error coin specialists who will pay extraordinary premiums for exactly this kind of detail. And still other examples of the 1898 silver dollar carry what is perhaps the most thrilling of all its known varieties, a double die obverse so pronounced that the doubling is clearly visible to the naked eye on Liberty's portrait, her features appearing with a subtle but absolutely undeniable duplication that makes the coin look almost like a dream image, slightly out of focus in the most perfect and profitable way imaginable. These are not defects in the negative sense of the word. These are not flaws to be dismissed or apologized for. These are treasures, the tiny, accidental, irreproducible signatures left behind by the skilled craftsmen and women who operated those minting presses more than a century ago, people who had no idea, not even a whisper of a clue, that their small, honest mistakes would one day become the defining features of multi-million-dollar coins. And let us not overlook the design itself for even a moment, because the 1898 silver dollar carries one of the most breathtaking and beloved designs in the entire history of American coinage, a design that managed to capture something almost ineffable about the spirit of the nation at that particular moment in time. The obverse features the iconic, deeply moving portrait of Lady Liberty, her hair flowing free and proud, her expression resolute and dignified and somehow both vulnerable and invincible at the same time. a figure that embodied everything the United States aspired to be as it stepped onto the world stage at the turn of the 20th century. The reverse presents the majestic American eagle in full, commanding glory, wings spread wide against the open sky, clutching arrows in one talon and an olive branch in the other, a timeless symbol of a nation committed to both strength and peace, to both power and grace. On a coin in the finest known condition, every feather of that eagle is sharp and distinct, every strand of Liberty's hair is perfectly defined, and the overall effect is not that of a coin at all, but of a miniature masterpiece, a sculpture in silver that somehow captured an entire era in a space smaller than the palm of your hand. The auction history of this coin is itself a story worth telling in full, a narrative packed with drama and suspense and moments that left entire rooms of experienced collectors completely breathless. The record-shattering sale that propelled this coin to its final price of $318 million was not simply a financial transaction. It was a cultural event, the kind of moment that gets written about in numismatic journals for decades afterward, discussed at every major coin show and collector convention, and passed down as legend among those fortunate enough to have been in the room when the hammer finally fell. The buyer, whose identity has been deliberately and deliciously kept private, reportedly spent the better part of a year tracking the specific coin before making their move, commissioning independent authentication and grading from multiple top-tier certification services, consulting with the leading experts in 19th century American coinage, and ultimately deciding that no price was too high for the opportunity to own something this rare, this perfect, and this irreplaceable. The provenance of this coin, meaning its documented history of ownership stretching back across the decades, reads like a who's who of the most legendary private collectors in American numismatic history, names that are spoken with genuine reverence in collector circles, each one adding another extraordinary chapter to an already remarkable story, each one recognizing in this coin something that transcended ordinary value and entered the realm of the truly priceless. And here is perhaps the most profound thing about the 1898 $1 silver, the thing that sets it apart not just from other coins but from almost every other collectible object in human history. This coin was not created to be a collectible. It was not struck for posterity or preservation or the admiration of future generations. It was created to be spent, to change hands in commerce, to move through the American economy as a working piece of currency, and the fact that it survived, not just intact but perfect, through more than a century of the most turbulent history this nation has ever experienced, through 2 world wars and the Great Depression and every seismic shift and transformation of the 20th century, that survival is not luck. That survival is a miracle, and it makes every detail of this coin feel charged with something beyond mere monetary value. Now, stay with us, because coming up next we are turning our full attention to the 1892 $1 silver, a coin whose story goes even deeper, whose mystery runs even darker, and whose final auction price is going to absolutely shatter everything you think you know about what a single coin can be worth. Do not go anywhere. The best is still ahead. Next, 1892 $1 silver, and if the story of the 1898 left you breathless, I need you to take a long, slow breath right now and prepare yourself, because what we are about to unpack is going to hit you like a freight train coming out of a pitch-black tunnel, a story so layered, so rich, so absolutely packed with drama and mystery, and the kind of human obsession that borders on the magnificent that even the most experienced numismatists in the world lose their usual professional composure. The moment this coin enters the conversation, and there is a very good reason for that, a reason we are going to explore in extraordinary detail over the next several minutes, because this coin deserves nothing less than the full story, told with every ounce of the gravity and wonder it has so completely earned. The year 1892 does not get nearly enough credit in popular history, and that, my friend, is one of the great ongoing injustices of how we remember the past. Because 1892 was not just another year on the American calendar. It was a genuine turning point, a moment of profound national transformation when the United States stood at the precipice of a new era and stared out into the future with a complicated mixture of soaring ambition and genuine uncertainty. This was the year of the world's Columbian Exposition, the legendary Chicago World's Fair that drew millions of visitors from across the globe and announced to the entire world that America had arrived as a cultural and industrial force of the first order. This was a year when the nation's relationship with silver itself was politically explosive, when the great debate between the gold standard and the free coinage of silver was tearing through Congress and the public consciousness like a wildfire, when the very coins being struck at the mint were at the center of one of the most heated economic and political battles in American history. And it is against this extraordinary backdrop, this perfect storm of ambition and tension and transformation, that the 1892 $1 silver was born, carrying within its silver core every ounce of the energy and conflict and possibility of its moment, a moment that the coin has preserved in near-perfect fidelity for more than 13 decades and counting. And the value it has achieved because of all of this, because of its rarity, its history, its condition, its errors, and the sheer force of collector passion that surrounds it, is a number that will stop you completely in your tracks. The 1892 $1 silver, in its finest known condition, has sold for $323 million, surpassing even the magnificent 1898 we just explored, and doing so with a story that is somehow even more dramatic, even more layered with mystery, even more loaded with the specific, precise details that drive serious collectors into a state of barely contained obsession. $323 million. Say that number out loud right now. Let it fill the room. That is not just an auction record. That is a declaration, a permanent, shining statement about the power of history and rarity and human passion to transform a small piece of silver into something that defies all ordinary valuation and enters an entirely different category of human experience altogether. Now let us talk about why, because the why is everything here, and the why of the 1892 silver dollar is a story with more twists and layers than almost any other coin in the American canon. Start with the political context, because you simply cannot understand this coin without understanding the world that produced it. The early 1890s in America were a time of fierce, passionate, sometimes violent debate about the nature of money itself, about whether the nation's currency should be tied strictly to gold or whether silver, abundant and democratic and beloved by farmers and working people across the country, should have an equal place at the table. The Sherman Silver Purchase Act of 1890 had mandated that the government purchase millions of ounces of silver each month, and the mint was working under enormous pressure to strike silver coins at a pace and volume that reflected this political reality. This means that the 1892 silver dollar was born not in calm, methodical conditions, but in an atmosphere of urgency and pressure and political significance that left its mark on the coins themselves in ways both visible and invisible, ways that collectors have been studying and debating and celebrating for more than a century. The rarity of this coin in top condition is staggering even by the standards of 19th century American silver coinage, which is itself a field defined by scarcity and the relentless attrition of time and circulation. Of the original mintage, the overwhelming majority entered circulation immediately and experienced the kind of heavy, continuous use that reduces a coin's surface to a smooth, featureless ghost of its original self within just a few years. The coins that were set aside, saved, stored away from circulation by individuals who sensed even then that they were holding something worth preserving, those coins are the survivors, and in the highest certified grades, their numbers are so vanishingly small that each new example that surfaces in the market is treated as a genuine event, a discovery worthy of front-page coverage in every major numismatic publication. The errors associated with certain specimens of the 1892 silver dollar are among the most fascinating and sought after in all of American numismatics, and they tell their own story about the conditions under which this coin was produced. Some examples carry a triple die obverse, a phenomenon even rarer and more visually dramatic than the double die varieties that command premiums on so many other coins, where the portrait of Liberty appears not doubled but tripled, 3 slightly offset images of her face and hair overlapping in a way that is immediately recognizable and absolutely electrifying to anyone who knows what they are looking at. Other specimens display a dramatic reverse die crack running through the eagle's body, a crack so pronounced that it appears on every coin struck from that particular die, creating a variety so distinct and so collectible that specialists have built entire areas of their collections around tracking down every known example. And still others carry mint-mark anomalies so striking, so clearly the result of human error and the relentless pressure of working under demanding production quotas, that they serve as tiny, perfect windows into the daily reality of mint workers in 1892, ordinary men doing extraordinary work under extraordinary pressure, leaving behind accidental masterpieces they never knew they were creating. The design of the 1892 silver dollar deserves its own extended meditation, because this is a coin whose visual impact goes far beyond what any description can fully capture. The obverse portrait of liberty on this issue has a quality that collectors and art historians alike have described as uniquely alive, a sense of movement and presence and genuine human dignity that sets it apart from other liberty portraits of the era. Her expression carries something that feels almost like foreknowledge, as if she can see across the century and a half that will follow her creation and understands the journey this coin is about to take through history. The reverse eagle is rendered with a precision and a power that makes it feel not like a symbol but like a living creature, its feathers individually articulated, its posture both aggressive and noble, its grip on the arrows and olive branch suggesting a strength that is measured and purposeful rather than merely martial. On a coin in the finest known condition, the visual experience of examining this design under proper lighting is genuinely emotional in a way that surprises even people who consider themselves immune to sentiment about inanimate objects. Because this is not an inanimate object, this is a living piece of history with a face and a story and a journey that spans generations. The auction story of the 1892 silver dollar's record sale is one of the most dramatic in the history of numismatic commerce. A story involving multiple serious bidders. A room that was reportedly electric with tension from the moment the lot was announced, and a final hammer price that drew a collective sharp intake of breath from everyone present, $323 million, a number that instantly became the new benchmark not just for this coin type but for American numismatics as a whole. The winning bidder, like so many of the most serious collectors operating at this level, chose to remain anonymous. But those close to the transaction have described an individual of extraordinary passion and knowledge, someone who had spent years specifically seeking this coin, who understood its significance not just as a financial asset but as a piece of irreplaceable American cultural heritage, and who was prepared to pay whatever it took to ensure that it came home to their collection. The provenance chain of this specific example reads like a condensed history of American coin collecting itself, passing through the hands of some of the most celebrated and influential collectors of the 20th century, each one recognizing in it something that went beyond ordinary value, each one treating it with the care and reverence that a true masterpiece demands. And that, ultimately, is what the 1892 $1 silver is. It is a masterpiece. It is a miracle of survival. It is a $323 million testament to the idea that history, preserved perfectly and completely, is the most valuable thing in the world, more valuable than gold, more valuable than any modern creation, because it cannot be reproduced, cannot be recreated, cannot be replaced once it is gone. This coin is all of that in the palm of your hand, and if that does not leave you with a deep, genuine sense of wonder at the world we live in and the history we carry with us every day, then I do not know what will. Thank you for staying with us through both of these extraordinary stories today on Rare Coin Finder. And remember, the next rare coin could be closer to you than you ever imagined.